Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our episode 2 of Truth in Cyber podcast. This is a show about cutting through the hype, speaking the truth, and trying to stop admiring the problem. No fear, no hype, no vendor buzzwords, just honest conversation with people who are trying to build, break, and defend in our cyber world. And our mission is very simple. It's to tell the truth, help people, and make cybersecurity better. So I'd
Awesome.
like to introduce Oscar Minks, our co-host, and then Jordan Darling, who's joining us today.
What's up?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. And great job on that intro. That was
Yeah.
I
really, really
appreciate that.
polished, clean. It was good. I like it.
I
That was
love the
that
I
was
love the word moving from admiring the problem to solving it. That's
yes.
we
Yeah,
all
we got
just
to
kind of admire the problem and never do anything.
yeah, that's one
Mhm.
of my quotes that I picked up along the way. Is I always tell people we got to stop admiring the problem.
Hmm.
And then the one that usually pisses people off the most is nothing changes if nothing changes.
It's truth.
So,
It's
yep.
truth, man. And
Yep.
that's what this is all about.
That's right. So Jordan, do you want to, since you're new, do you want to give a little backstory about yourself? What brought you to cybersecurity and who are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I'm Jordan Darling. I am just a man like you fine fellas. I got into cybersecurity by way of the MSP. I started an MSP before MSPs were cool in 2003, and I was 23 years old, and I was not a cybersecurity expert at that time. My approach to cybersecurity was uh, basically, I was involved in, I had a AVG partnership. I used malware bytes and spy sweeper and hijacked this. And that
Nice.
was what I did. And but as I grew and kind of matured, um, I and the business grew, I got to a point where I was able to hire some technicians, and it was about 2011 when I started thinking, man, a lot of MSPs aren't doing security right, including me.
Right.
And I wanted to change that. And I ended up kind of just wanting to be the most security focused MSP out there. That was kind of my big goal was, you know, to just break that mold and just be like the most security focused MSP. And that was going to be my differentiator. But that led me to reaching out to FR Secure and to see if there was some partnership opportunities there. Going through the CISSP mentorship program, gaining my CISSP, partnering with Security Studio. It was 2020 Secure at the time, uh, and really just diving into information security risk assessments, and it just kind of fueled my passion there. And of course, meeting Evan Francine, I reached out to him uh, to do an interview with me because I was writing a paper for school. And speaking of telling the truth, when he tells the story, he often says that I was studying for my master's, and everything inside me wants to just be quiet. Like, yeah, that's what I was doing. But actually, I went back to finish my bachelor's, and so
Nice.
I was doing that when I met him and I was interviewing him for that, and then I just kind of fell in love with cyber from him and his mission and his passion, and it kind of fueled that to kind of ended up solidifying this as the crazy industry I wanted to be involved in, and I haven't looked back.
Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. So kind of with that, we were just talking a little bit about it. And so, I mean, and I've had those conversations with Evan in the past too about, fixing the broken industry, trying to keep things moving along. Maybe for both of you or maybe us, why are we getting the same repeating noise, right? Why are we hearing about the same stuff? Like today there was a big, what Cloudflare was having some issues today. And then I went out to Down Detector and then everybody and what like fifth on the list was Grinder. And I was like, how did Grinder get above Azure and some of the other ones? But, are we, how you kind of picked up that knowledge and speaking with him and kind of started to change your thinking process is like in what we were talking about earlier about kind of personal IR plans. But are we teaching people, or are we training them, or are we just kind of saying good luck, let us know if you need something? How can we
No, I
go ahead?
think, well, first of all, Evan's Cure, Jordan, it's great. I'm just going to call
Yeah,
Evan
yeah.
Evan's Cure now. Like,
Yep.
that sticks. Um, but it's funny. I was just thinking over the weekend, and I've been working in security for over 20 years now. And the challenges I faced 20 years ago, while they may look different today, they're the same challenges that we're facing today. And I think there's just this over reliance or this idea that, technology is the solution. And that was the thing 20
Mhm.
years ago. That's the thing 10 years ago. And that's the thing today, is that everybody is still approaching this as a technological problem and assuming that there is a piece of software, there is an automation, there is a tool that can make my life easier. I think people are approaching security as it's a nuisance, right? This is something
Mm,
like, oh, these damn hackers, I just need a thing to stop them. And
yeah.
so I think that's a fallacy that, like, we have always observed. We're still observing. And when I think about what's broken in the industry, that's one of the biggest things to me, is that there's just this common misunderstanding that there's a solution that's a technology solution, and it doesn't focus on education. And we're big on it's and it's this is a people problem. This
Right.
is an education problem. This is a learning problem. And I even think back to when I was young and in my career, and it's like we're always griping about how we don't have the budget, we don't have the dollars, we don't have the people, we don't have the things. I never took a step back to say, what can I do without that budget? What can I do,
Mhm.
within the limitations of my budget? And there's so much that we can be doing every single day. It doesn't cost a dime. It just costs
Right.
you time. But even more so, a lot of people I think that are in these positions don't understand that philosophy, and they're focused
Mm.
on a solution driven approach rather than let's just get down, let's do the work that's hard, let's do the dirty work, let's spend the time, and we can really significantly make an impact and a change on our own through education, understanding, and just hard work.
Yeah, for sure. What do you
Yeah.
think, Jordan?
Yeah, I agree. Like that question is a great question, and anyone can get trained. Anyone can memorize the words, pass the exam, and still have no idea what they're doing. And
Right.
Mhm.
and you know, I think even better than um, teaching, I think a better word even is mentoring. I think that's a thing that because that mentoring takes time. Mentoring means like it's the idea of shoulder to shoulder, walking through the mess together and plunging into the experience, in a way that I think is more memorable and people can now internalize it more and they understand the whys, they understand the context, and I think that's what we want. We want knowledge that activates behavior and belief and not just, noise.
What do you think about, like, so we talk a lot about that, about you know the the camaraderie, or like the transparency and the awareness and those things, and kind of coaching and talking to people. But there's still there's a stigma behind it all too, right? There's the paranoia when you're in the middle of it, what's going on, everybody's watching, everybody's seeing everything you're doing. Or then there's also the other side of people. I don't want people to know. I don't want people to know that I'm having this going on. Or um they're forgetting about those pieces. And like you talked about with the training, for me, that was kind of part of when I talk to people about transparency, honest accountability, and awareness of the truth, and the mission behind Truth in Cyber. They get focused on being, ensuring that when I help them too, because I talk about, like, why isn't Oracle telling us stuff about their breach, or Unify, I mean, and but or whatever happened today. I haven't seen a note yet, but
Right.
it's more around, how are we being transparent with each other? How are we talking about this problem together, and being okay, and not being negative to each other about it. It's okay that this stuff happens. And it's quite an eye-opening thing too at the same time, but I think we forget sometimes to have that compassion or the other aspects of it, that you're not alone in it. So,
Well, and I think that that's necessary because when you're talking about truth and sometimes we haven't earned the right to hear the truth or to tell them the truth if we're telling someone if you're thinking about telling someone the truth about where they're at or what they're doing, like
mhm.
there's some trust that has to be earned, you know, um, because there is some vulnerabilities there, and there is some probably fear that okay, if I share this, I'm gonna get raked over the coals. There's gonna be no compassion. There's gonna be people coming with pitchforks to circle the wagons, and that's the society that we live in now. I
Yeah.
mean, one little mistake and people want to circle the wagons and demonize everyone. And so I can understand the hesitation, when you don't feel like there's a trusted place to open up about stuff.
How do we get past that? How do you guys build though that trust in, I mean, like in our friendships, right? You
I
know?
think it just takes a lot of courage, realistically. And like being in that position, like Jordan mentioned, like it is being vulnerable, right? And accepting that, hey, they may circle the wagons, but I'm being honest, I'm being truthful here, I'm being transparent and like respecting my own ethical and moral values that I have. And like even acceptance, so having the courage to do that. And
Yeah.
then the acceptance of the response and knowing like, yeah, they're going to come and that's okay. Like come at me because I still stand strong that I'm doing the ethical thing. I'm doing the moral thing. I'm doing the right thing. And but it's hard, right? You have to have the courage, you have to have thick skin, you
Yeah.
have to be ready for those, repercussions that you're going to deal with. And then that unravels a whole new set of challenges for people. It's not like you do that once and it's over. It's going to
Right. No.
continue and continue and continue. And you have to
Yep.
live with those decisions. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I think having that group or having some people that you can lean on that you do trust that are
Hmm.
in that, and then being able just to, even if they're not in the industry or they're that 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 you're ride or die, right? You can
Hmm.
tell, see, your secret to, or whatever, that helps. So lean on some of those and have some of those conversations. And
Yeah.
then, and you when you were talking about that too, about the honesty and transparency, that I was just thinking about is like, you know, if my side of the street is clean, it's all I need to worry about. I just need to
Hmm.
worry about this guy right here, and my morals and what I have. What all this other noise that other people are saying and talking about, right here, it's okay. And
Yeah.
having that, um reminding myself and having those people in my life that remind me of that too. So,
Hmm.
or it's pretty key.
Yeah. I think yeah, when you're talking about it like that, you're thinking that like people will get encouraged and inspired by you. Like if you focus on being the best you can be and you kind of lead the way by example, people see that, and so when you're a person that someone can come to and tell the truth, I mean, I think that rubs off, and it takes lots of experiences like that, I think, to broaden that. But at the very least, you can be that one person that isn't going to circle the wagons, or that will maybe even a step further than that, maybe is when everyone's circling the wagons around someone, you come to encourage them, you come to support them, and
Hmm.
and we start seeing more people acting like that. um, it'll start to rub off, I would think.
I think you like call it a good point there, Jordan. Like people are going to see you, they're going to notice you, but more importantly, they're going to be inspired by you. And I'm a firm believer if we want to influence change, it is leading by example. And so having the courage to step up and do the right thing there is maybe it is hard, right? But there's someone that's going to see that, and someone's going to appreciate that and respect that, and it will have an influence on their decisions and their life as they move forward.
Definitely.
Um, right. In my little agenda note I had here too about like a moment where each of us, if you're willing, had a hard truth. Um, and where, what have, kind of on that same lines, right? That you're talking about. I had a recent one where I was, we screwed up something for someone, and it was a cert problem, and I got on the call, and I mean, it was fixed immediately, but I mean, you guys know certs. I mean, fucking certs kill everybody. And so, we get in, and I call and I talk to him, and and it was just like, oh, what happened? I'm like, you know what? This happened. This is what happened. And taking that honesty and that and the accountability behind it, and saying, okay, you know what? This is how it's not going to happen again. And
Hmm.
and this is why we, whatever. And it's funny because I got a chuckle, and it was like, I know. I knew what happened. Someone who'd been
Yeah.
in the industry a long time knew exactly what had happened, and was just kind of poking to see, what are you going to say, Mike? And I've always kind of led with that. I mean, the secrets will kill me if I don't have that honesty, and I'm not sharing that stuff out there, and being, then that was one of those moments. Was I could have pivoted, and I could have said, oh,
Hmm.
it was this and that, and made up a story.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, now that relationship is a little bit stronger. At least I hope. And it seems like
Hmm.
it's a little bit stronger because I was honest, and they understood, and it's tech and da 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 da. So, um, you know, I don't know if you guys had anything like that or similar.
No, I think, well, just today is thinking, recency bias here, but I seen we had one of our projects is kind of installed right now, right?
Mm,
And so I hop on the phone and I call our contact, which the contact happens to be like we've known each other our entire life.
mm,
And I'm calling to say, like, hey, did we drop the ball here? Like, what did we do wrong? And so I'm just reaching out, like, well, first of all, like, hey, how are you doing, bud? I haven't talked to you in a couple months, and it's like, hey, I see this project's being delayed. Like, what can we do better? And then his response was like, no, no, not on you guys at all. Like, I totally dropped the ball here. Like, I've screwed up. You guys are doing fine, but I appreciate the call. And then we started talking about the problem he's having. And it's like, oh, well, let me help you with that. And so not only is like just kind of being proactive and reaching out like me, because I was in fear, like we messed up, right? How did we
yeah.
mess up? What can I do better? And he's like, no, actually, you didn't. I did, but I need some help today. And like, I think me having the vulnerability to say, I'm sorry if we messed up, opened him up to saying, like, no, I'm actually challenged with another problem today. And then we're able to work through and solve that together. And it builds our relationship. And I think it's just an example of kind of like being prepared to own up when you do make a mistake and just always like, for me, I always try to like hard conversations are never fun, but there's always a positive outcome for every
Yeah.
hard conversation.
Yeah.
And so I try to focus on approaching every difficult moment saying like, man, this is going to suck. It is. But I
Yeah.
know there's going to be an opportunity that we both understand and realize when we finish this conversation.
Right. Yeah. After the hard conversation, all of
Yep.
that like anxiety, stress of the hard conversation is gone.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I'll share another like story of humility really quick, man. And this is just something that's been on my mind. I talk so much shit about AI pen testing, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then I'm like, I was just having conversations and like things have evolved. And I still like, I'm not endorsing AI pen testing here. Let me be
Right.
very clear. But I had a realization. It's like, I'm talking shit about a product that I've never even really used.
Mm,
And I can point out all the fallacies, all the problems, all the challenges with it. But like, what are the benefits of it? Right. So
yeah.
I'm good at calling out what sucks, but I also think it's only fair for me to give time and say, well, what's good about this too? Where are use cases? Because I mean, it's something we're seeing in the market right now. Like, there's a lot of people that can't afford FR Secure Services. Is this a viable in between? Like, hey, you can't afford us. I got a product I can endorse. It's not going to be as good, but you can go help, help identify your risks, help reduce your risk in your organization. But today, I can't do that because I've just been
Right.
too busy saying this is trash, this is garbage, don't do it.
Hmm.
And so firing up a project to like test some of these tools and see like what pros and cons they have. See if there is an opportunity that like I could with a good heart and a good mind say, hey, if you can't afford us, that's cool. Maybe give this a spin and work on those things that spits out. Then when you get mature, or maybe you're not even mature enough to need a pen test
Right.
from us.
Yeah.
When you get there, then call me and then we can help you out.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I was debating whether, I could share a story about from the industry or like a personal thing. I mean, I have a BDR that wasn't configured properly thing that I had to eat the had the pie on my face or whatever is the term for that. But I'm feeling called to share this story because it's not really cyber related, but it's when we're talking truth, truth it's a lifestyle, it's not just I'll put on my truth hat because I'm doing cyber. Like it has to be woven in and integrated into who you are as a person, I think. And I had early in my marriage, I used to my wife was working the night shift, and while she was working, I took it as an opportunity to, drink one, maybe two bottles of wine a night as I'm working, I'm doing work, so I could
Right.
justify it in my head, like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
working, and next thing I know, two bottles of wine are gone. And then, I'd hear the garage door open up, and I'd just throw the empty bottles into like a tub in my closet, and then pretend like I was asleep. And I mean, I got by just fine like that, and then one day where I had forgotten about those bottles, and we were cleaning out my closet, and sure enough, this tub falls over and empty bo wine bottles falls out, and it just crushed my I mean, like this is like uh trust was lost in a second, you know.
Sure.
And in my head, I didn't even think, and so I talked through it, and I chose to come clean about what I was doing. But even the coming clean, it's like was unbelievable. It's like, yeah, a few nights a week I'd stay up working and do this, and it's like even if that's the truth, all trust is gone. The truth isn't even the truth anymore. Like you could be telling me another crock of shit, what I can't trust anything you're saying anymore, and so the trust was eroded in an instant. Um, and but that kind of led, so that was kind of a turning point where I was like, I can't hide anything. Like this can't happen. Like even if it's bad, even I didn't stop drinking wine. I definitely drank less, but I would make sure that the wine was out. So when she got home from work, like yes, I've been drinking wine, and she didn't like that. Like we had other conversations around that, but I was like, I'm not going to hide this from you. I'm not going to be someone who's sneaking around doing this. You'll know, and we can talk about it. But all that to say, through that, and of course we were doing marriage counseling and things, and adding things into our lives, and we were doing marriage counseling before that. I advise doing marriage counseling uh, before you have issues. Have a conduit of a place where you can talk about these things with mediator and stuff, and learn tools for your marriage. Um, but from that, I started just saying I'm going to be someone who's going to tell the truth every single time. And so now what I've noticed is as I get a feeling, and this is something, counselors will tell you, like they tell you to kind of observe your body feelings and stuff like that. And whenever there's something where I get this feeling like, um, I kind of want to cover something up here. I'm not going to tell the whole truth, especially to my wife. Um, I try to push through it. I
Yeah.
notice it first, and I try to push through it. Um, and what's funny is there's this weird piece sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes when all of a sudden I've made up my mind, I'm going to just say the truth, there's this weird peace that overtakes that anxiety. And it's like it's kind of like this feeling of, okay, here we go. You know, I'm gonna just
Calming, right?
lay it out.
Yeah.
And and then I just say whatever everything I'm feeling, everything that's on my mind, and even I'll even say to her, it's like, I want you to know, like, my brain doesn't want me to tell you this. Like,
Right.
I am feeling like I don't want to say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. And here it
Hmm.
is. And it's so freeing internally, first of all, and secondly, when you get that experience that the conversation doesn't actually crash and burn, and the relationship actually improves, you know, the last thing I'll kind of say about that is like that's kind of it. Like, more experiences, people need those experiences where it goes well, and to can keep doing it. So you kind of have to test it. You kind of have to do it, dip your toe in it, and say, I'm going to tell the truth this time, see what happens. And
Yeah.
the more you get good experiences from that, I think you build that muscle. And it certainly has helped with me.
I think staying aware too, and learning from those, even if you didn't do it right,
Hmm.
kind of taking the step to, okay, there's this another little analogy I always say is take what you need, leave the rest, right? And so I take what I, in that situation where I was honest, okay, I could have said it a little bit differently. Oh, I pissed off that person. I shouldn't have said it, those type of things. And, you know, keeping that honesty flowing.
Yeah.
Um, we should probably start wrapping up here, but any advice or anything you want to push out to everybody for this podcast? You aside from, what Jordan just talked about, telling the truth, anything that sticks out in the industry or things we should be doing or for you, either of
Yeah, I
you?
don't know. I think, yeah. I think having more open, honest conversation with people. I think that's kind of my takeaway today. And Jordan, thanks for sharing that, man. It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
is a great example of the truth will set you free. And
Yep.
there's no better feeling. And as you were explaining that, like in my mind, I was just thinking about that same feeling you described, where it's like you have so much anxiety building up for a conversation. Kind of was talking about those hard conversations, but then like when you do it, you get this feeling of calm,
Yeah.
this feeling of relief, and then like I said, I think there's always a takeaway. And so I think maybe like my ask for people would be maybe have an honest conversation with someone. And I'll give you an example. My nephew, I was talking about before the show, he's working in the corporate world. He's kind of frustrated with his job and frustrated with changes and all these things that's going on. And I'm like, well, if you like ask for time to talk to your manager and just have an honest conversation with him about where you're struggling, where you're feeling lost today, how these changes are impacting you, and just start there because we all make so many assumptions in our head when things change around us. I think a lot of times we don't have the courage to have that hard conversation. And so he did. He had a conversation with his manager, and he told me afterwards, like, regardless if anything changes or not after that, I feel so much better knowing that he understands the way I feel, and I truly believe that he cares about the way I feel. So maybe there will be changes. And so I would just encourage everyone, if you're in a moment where you're struggling with anything, like talk to someone about it and really have an open, hard conversation. And I think you'll yield a reward because of that in some mechanism.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Go ahead, Jordan. When you say something.
Yeah. I think my final thought would be just that, I'd say again, I'd encourage you to tiptoe into telling the truth. Make it a part of your lifestyle of the way you approach everything, and build those experiences for your brain to remember and build habits around. One of the things that I think I'm going to be working on for myself is um, I was watching a clip, Matthew McConaughey, like one of those inspirational clips, and he was talking about the difference between a good man and a nice man. And, a nice man will be very agreeable. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, not cause any problems. Just, oh, no, you're good, don't worry, everything. But the difference between a nice man and a good man is a good man is someone who will draw a line in the sand and will take a stand, and they don't have to be a dick about it, but but they actually do speak truth and they do take a stand on something and they know what they believe in. And I think sometimes I can be a little more nice than good sometimes. And so my goal is to start practicing being a good man, not just a nice man.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. I think we're not, if we're going to stick with like what you talked about with the truth and the honesty. I mean, we don't want to be, stinky to people, but to
Right.
your point, it's like ensuring that we are being really honest, right? If this is something that's not working, having that conversation. And when you talked
Mhm.
about seeing those clips, yeah, there's a guy on LinkedIn that posts little video clips every once in a while to music, yeah, that I love seeing and following.
Thankfully.
And I typically pull him up and show my wife a little bit. Hey, check out this guy, and she's like, "Who is this guy?" Oh, he's Jordan. I mean, anyway.
Thanks, dude.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Love it.
I love those too, by the way. All right. Well, I appreciate the chat this week with you guys. Thanks so much for the time, and I guess thanks to our listeners, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you guys.